I'm going to call the meeting to order. Can the city clerk please call the roll?
Yes. Councilmember Gatewood.
Here.
Councilmember Budge.
Here.
Councilmember Terry.
Here.
Mayor Sander is absent, and Vice Mayor Pulapati.
He's here. Can I ask the city clerk to announce the meeting's video recording and playback schedules?
Yes, the meeting of the Rancho Cordova City Council will be cablecast on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast and AT&T Uverse cable systems. The meeting is closed captioned and webcast at metro14live.saccounty.gov. Today's meeting will replay on Thursday, June 20th at 9 a.m. and Sunday, June 23rd at 6 p.m. on Channel 14. The meeting can also be viewed at youtube.com/Metro Cable 14. A DVD copy can also be ordered from the City Clerk's Department, and a webcast of this meeting will be available on the city's website within 48 hours of adjournment of this meeting.
Thank you. I'd like to call on the birthday girl, Tara, to come and lead the pledge today. I'd like to invite the audience to, no, this is later.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Happy birthday, Tara. I'd like to call on Julie Steinbeck with the United Methodist Church to give the invocation. If the audience can remain standing, please.
Let us pray. Almighty God, we are fortunate to live, work, and play in this wonderful city of Rancho Cordova. Encourage our leaders to make sensible decisions that consider the diversity of our residents. Empower our community to make positive changes to ensure our safety and well-being. Motivate us to foster a caring environment in our neighborhoods. In your name we pray. Amen.
There are no items under presentation this evening, so we will go to public comment. Members of the public wishing to address the council for any matter not on the agenda may do so at this time by completing and submitting a speaker card to the city clerk. For items on the agenda, speakers will be called by the vice mayor at the point on the agenda when the items will be heard. Speakers are encouraged to keep comments to 3 minutes or less and to state name and community of residence. Under the provisions of the California Government Code, the City Council is prohibited from discussing or taking immediate action on any item not on the agenda unless it can be demonstrated to be of an emergency nature or the need to take immediate action arose after the posting of the agenda.
With the public comment that we have so far, we'll start with Jessa Rago. Jessa, if you'll come forward. Following Jessa will be Shakuri. Following Shakuri will be Anurekna. Thank you. And James Garcia. Jessa.
Good evening. I'm Jessa Rigo. I live in Folsom and I work here in Rancho Cordova. I'm here to support the Gaza ceasefire resolution that my group has submitted. We submitted it again today before 2 p.m. thinking it would make it into the, like something on the, printed for public record. Obviously, we're not professional lobbyists. We're just doing our best, trying to figure this all out. I would like to emphasize that it's a compliment to you all and the job that you're doing as city councilors, that we're coming to you with a problem that has been said to be outside of your scope. It's a compliment because it means the city is running well. We have all the basic necessities. You're addressing homelessness. It's a great city. We love the range of unique businesses. I even thought about trying to buy a house here, even though that's still a long way off, even though I have a journey-level job that requires a bachelor's degree and years of experience, and I also have a side hustle. The visioning retreat that the city did lists fun as a goal. We want the city to be fun. I don't understand how I'm supposed to have fun when I still have no choice but to contribute via my taxes from the work I do in this town to weapons produced by a business in this town, Aerojet and L3 Harris, and the community members who work there in this town that go to blowing children and families to bits. We know this council works with Ami Bera to use federal money that we pay into and comes back as federal projects, grants, and loans. There'd be more of that if we weren't sending it away to enable ethnic cleansing and uphold an apartheid client state. The funds could instead be used, say, for something like first-time homebuyer support to keep this community strong and the American dream alive, maybe even give us a chance to have a little fun. I would also like to draw a connection to the invocations given at most of these city council meetings. That's new to me. I've been to a lot of public meetings. Haven't seen that anywhere else. Does that mean that this city council or town is more spiritual than other local agencies? Doesn't seem like it, since Folsom and Sacramento have passed cease violence and ceasefire resolutions for Gaza, and Rancho Cordova still has not even considered it. I was raised Christian, and these invocations don't mention Jesus, but they sure sound a lot like, a grace at dinner to me in my tradition. And it leaves me wondering, who would Jesus bomb? We know that a Rancho Cordova ceasefire resolution would not change anything immediately. Part of the point of this is that it pressures Ami Bera and our state government to work on this, and also trying to avoid spiritual death for ourselves and our communities. In getting to know more of my Muslim neighbors during these efforts, I see very clearly the commonalities between Christianity and Islam.
Please wrap up your comments.
What I have learned from them, in addition, is that God does not judge us on outcomes. God judges us on our actions. Thank you.
Shukri?
Good evening. My name is Shukri Suhir. I have been a resident of Rancho Cordova since I was born, and as of a few weeks ago, I am a graduate of UC Berkeley, where I studied public health and data science. I am the proud child of hardworking immigrants from Malaysia who chose to build their lives in the United States, partly for the lofty ideals and values that make us proud to call ourselves Americans. Chief among these ideals are the unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We've all learned it in our civics classes. It should be noted that Jefferson didn't allot these rights to Americans exclusively, but to all men, all people who were created equal by God and should thus be treated justly and fairly. Our country's response to the genocide of Palestinians in Gaza is antithetical to the views that lay at the foundation of our country. The lives of Gazans have been viciously and ruthlessly stolen via American-made bombs paid for by our tax dollars. Simple freedoms and human rights are being infringed left and right. The rights to shelter, medicine, food, and clean water, all non-existent. Aid workers and doctors are systematically targeted and murdered by an apartheid regime hell-bent on depriving Gazans of their God-given human rights. And today, on the day of Eid, a time meant for celebration and happiness in the Muslim world, the only reason a Gazan has to smile is the belief that the suffering of their slain and murdered loved ones is over, and they are safe and happy with God in heaven. Eid is a celebration whose central theme is sacrifice. We commemorate the prophet Abraham's willingness to sacrifice his son Ishmael in accordance with a commandment from God. But God, in his infinite mercy and wisdom, spared Abraham from this task and blessed the progeny of Abraham with this holiday instead. Abraham won God's favor through his willingness to sacrifice that which was hard for him, that which he loved the most. Sometimes doing the right thing takes a tremendous amount of sacrifice. Activism, politics, and public service are mechanisms of instilling change that is strenuous for the few who still believe in the power of institutions. In our polarized political climate, I've had friends rescinded from jobs, denied academic positions and entry to graduate schools, and even arrested for taking a stand with Gaza. They sacrifice because of these simple truths. The arc of the universe is just, and history is on our side. The side against oppression, violence, and war. I implore you all to join the right side of history and act on the resolution for a ceasefire. Thank you.
Next speaker, Anu Rekna.
You can go by Anu, but you're so close. Good evening, everyone. So I'm here just to express one of my concern that I received, like a courtesy notice of violation. Being American citizen, and I felt that I was obeying all the rules and violation, but this city code of violation or the compliance with the city ordinance, I was not aware the 40% of the concrete limit. So it took me almost 7 years for me to do the front yard, but I received a notice within few days just because someone complained about my front yard work. So now I've given only 10 days of time to remove that, and after that maybe another 30 days. But one thing I would like to bring it is I did not see the equality or the fairness, because I heard only when they receive a complaint there will be an action, because I've seen so many my neighbors in my neighborhood are having the concrete and they are living for several years, but I got it within a week, and it took me several years for me to budget, and this is not something that I can do it on my own. Again, I have to put some money in it, and I need some time to act on that. So this one, I feel like it's giving me a lot of stress, and this is not gonna be helpful. So I would like to request the city to consider, or at least find some fair treatment to treat everyone in the equal opportunity. And also, the other thing I would like to bring it is I have a senior citizen mom living with me in the mother-in-law suite. So the driveway is very narrow, we cannot, even in the garage, it's not easy to access any wheelchair. And also who were visiting my mom with the senior citizens, they cannot access the walker because of the narrow walk down. So that's where we ended up extending a little bit so we can access. So when I requested, even that was not in the part of consideration. So do I need to go for any approval or any permission? I didn't get enough information, so I thought of bringing it here to see if I could get some resolution for this. Thank you.
The next speaker is James.
Wait.
Anu, I think the city manager is going to address your
Can I
question.
answer? Okay.
Yeah, I was just going to, with the mayor's permission, let you know, or vice mayor's permission, that you can connect with Rush Ducharme, who's in the back there, who can kind of help talk about that with you.
Oh, thank you.
James Garcia.
Hello, James Garcia, resident of Stone Creek. I'm here just because of what's happening right now outside of the city limits, but it is near the city limits and partially within the city limits. There are lots of grass fires that have taken place. We have one right now burning south of Mather Golf Course and affecting near Anatolia on Sunrise, between Sunrise and Eagle's Nest. And wasn't sure what the city could do to try to help out with possibly bring the goats. I've seen at Mather, maybe get closer to some of the city-owned lands or anything like that, just to kind of help us with some potential wildfire mitigation between the Stone Creek and Anatolia area in particular, because those are the two recent fires that have taken place. One's out there over the weekend, that was the old raceway. It was kind of out there, Eagle's Nest and Jackson Highway, kind of Excelsior between there, and it went all the way to almost to Douglas. So not sure if there's anything that the city is able to do to try to potentially mitigate that a little more. So I know it's not city land that those fires just took place on, but I believe the one that's burning right now still is now approaching city land because it is right behind the Rayleighs and those new homes that are just going in right behind Rayleighs at Sunrise and Douglas. So it's close. So just concerned about that. And of course, there's going to be other areas too, all along the American River, I'm sure. And I know that there's at least some cleanup there, but these in particular just happened right now and yesterday. So thank you.
Those are the speakers that submitted speaker cards. The city clerk's office also received a general public comment from Haroon Rashid. That email was distributed to the city council today. It has been posted on our city's website, and it's been printed in the public comment binder in the back of the council chambers.
Thank you. I'd like to ask the council members for their reports and start with Councilmember Gatewood.
Okay, we'll start off. Happy Father's Day to all those fathers out there. You guys do good work. Jim, James, all you guys. Even though we don't get recognized and we end up doing double the work on our holiday, ranked number 20th out of all holidays, I still appreciate all the hard work you do. We're ranked 20th, right underneath Arbor Day. Arbor Day. So when you get done loving trees, get a little love to Donald, me, and David, and Micah, Adam. All right. Amazing. I just want to compliment my staff. The NLC joint meeting, or NLC in general, really spotlighted Rancho Cordova. It was amazing seeing everybody come together. I know everyone's exhausted. To bring that many mayors into our city at one time was a lot of work, and to see us all tag teaming to make sure they had a great time. They learned a lot about Rancho Cordova, and I really think we spotlighted some of the great stuff we do. And it was interesting because most of them, a chunk of them stayed over an extra day just so they could tour more of Rancho. So that was cool. So I took a bunch of them the food. They're dope individuals. Thank you for Jay to take those people out. But yeah, it was awesome. And then Siri and I met with the IT committee a bunch of times. Siri obviously is the most educated person in that room by far. But it's good to hear that they're listening to us, talking about the next steps when it comes to technology, and a lot of the stuff they're trying to do with AI and integration and cabling. And I just think Siri needs to get more injected to be able to help guide that group someplace safe. Sacramento Library, good to know that we are, not only are we under budget, but we have $200,000 over budget in the rear. So we actually are profitable as a library board authority. I suggested that they take the money and give it to Sacramento because they're going to have a hit, and everyone cracked up about it, but I was being serious. I went to the George Washington Carver ceremony, which I've never actually been to. That is an eclectic group of individuals, and I'm glad that they have that kind of school for people that want to go that way in their education. So there's the typical, and then there's, it's not Montessori, Waldorf. And it's a Waldorf graduation, and it is interesting to listen to those. It's a Waldorf school, yeah. And it's interesting because I've never seen a Waldorf high school graduation. And so, but they were all really nice kids, and they have a big future ahead of them, and they're just, it's interesting watching them because I like having schools for everybody. I mean, not everyone wants to be educated in the same way, and to hear a group that goes through it. So thank you to that school district. Thank you to those teachers. Thank you to those amazing parents. I went downtown for it in one of the hottest old buildings, the old movie theater, the one on Crest Theater. Yeah. Woo! That is one hot on the stadium. Boy, when they turn on the lights, you just sweat. But yeah, I got to see those kids, and that was awesome. And in advance, happy Juneteenth. If you guys are an event, the Folsom Cordova Partnership is throwing a couple of Juneteenth events. So that's awesome. And if you are interested in that, please look them up on the website. And the more people that show up, the merrier. That's it. Oh, and one big thing, I got to attend the Talagan Association, and they basically told me how amazing Linda is, and they gave her an amazing award, but I'm going to let her talk about that.
Thank you, Siri. Thank you. Yeah, actually, the highlight of one of the highlights of this week has been the recognition by the Telangana Association for this giant, very heavy Lifetime Achievement Award. It was really quite amazing. They brought out this enormous white leather chair that I was afraid they were going to ask me to take home with me. And I was wrapped in this perfectly beautiful
Oh, that's what this is.
example of weaving from Telangana. It reminded me a lot of the when we incorporated, and one of our Sikh gentlemen came and presented us all with what he called a saffron, which was a stole. He said, in the world today, we don't carry scimitars, but the saffron will protect you just as if it were a scimitar. And that's kind of what it reminded me of. On a more pedestrian note, I attended the city's annual picnic, which was not a picnic because it was blessedly 100 and some odd degrees that day, so it was held in the inside City Hall. The event at Solborn was perfectly beautiful. It was the wrap-up event for the National League of Cities, and the weather cooperated, and it was like a garden party. It was a perfectly lovely evening. And yes, staff and Sean Harrison did an amazing job. They had a gentleman cooking chicken. They had a gentleman making pizza. And Mulvaney came and brought all these marvelous desserts. On Saturday morning, David and I attended the grand opening for a new park in Rio de Loro. And it is a really beautiful park in an era where people don't have much backyard anymore and our front yards are all gone. Then the burden is on our public park spaces to become the place that little kids can play and throw ball and do croquet, if anybody does that kind of thing anymore, and frisbees, and just have a great time. And so this is a beautiful park of approximately 3 to 5 acres, I'm thinking. Yeah. Bigger than Village Green, but yeah, I'm thinking 3 to 5 acres. And it has a beautiful soccer field also. A very nice event. And Regional Transit met, and the basic event there was simply releasing the, or adopting the 2025 operating and capital budgets, which still doesn't bring any additional routine bus service to Rancho Cordova, but it does continue to fund the paratransit and the dollar ride service. And then finally, I went to a beautiful memorial service for a lady who had been very active at the Mooses. And so I would ask that we adjourn tonight in the memory of Maria Jane Ramirez. Very active lady, wonderful person. She had a stroke quite some years ago and had been in a wheelchair for a long time, but she's not hurting anymore, which is really very nice. So,
Thank you, Councilmember Budge. Councilmember Terry?
Yeah, I'll be brief. I missed our last meeting. I wouldn't say missed because I was watching my son play the Little League in the Tournament of Champions. And for those of you who didn't follow, the finals of the Tournament of Champions for the minor leagues ended up being out of 6 different city Little Leagues. Rancho won against Rancho number 2. And my son's team was Rancho number 1. They actually won the Tournament of Champions. But it was an all Rancho finals for Little League. So if that's telling, if anything, it might happen as they move into the majors, that our city beat Rosemont, Arden, Northridge, Citrus Heights, College Glen, I think was the other one. We never played any of them. They could have been in it. Yeah, so, but in general, yeah, of all of those teams that all sent at least 2 teams, Rancho 1 and Rancho 2 ended up beating all of them, and then they had, it was the score would tell you a little different. The number 2 team, which is the Nationals, scored a handful of runs right at the end, so it was very far apart, then got a little closer right by the end. But it was a great week. It was hot, then it was cold, then it was nice. But sprinkled in there was the 105 day that we had that time. So a lot of fun. Sorry, I missed a meeting there, but it was a lot of fun to see that. Garrett, really thrilled that you got to go to the George Washington Carver graduation. As the former school board member there, it's funny, I actually oversaw the first graduation from that school, but none of the kids that graduated that year actually ever went to the Waldorf school because it started that year. And it was actually I can't remember what the program was, but the school district actually shut down that program and moved the Waldorf program to that campus. So the next 3 graduations that I oversaw were for the Waldorf kids, which those of you who don't know, it's like Montessori, which is what it gets confused with a lot. It's a lot less writing and a lot more audible presentations and things that they have to do. So like instead of doing a book report, they actually give a speech about what they were doing, and it relies more on spoken word and other stuff. So it's a very different school that I know other educators that would make their skin crawl to think about teaching that way, but it works for some families and kids. So that's really great that you got to go. I'm sorry I didn't get to go to the NLC meetings last week. We were all pulling double duty. I'm also not representing the city, but I'm on the GSAC board, so the Economic Council board board. And their retreat was on Wednesday, which is the exact same time as all those meetings. So I did spend Wednesday night, Thursday, and Friday at that board meeting, quasi representing the city because David was here and he's our board member there, talking about a lot of different exciting things that GSAC is working on from a regional level around economic planning. There's going to be a new marketing plan being rolled out and new branding for the region that they're going to start using that to me sounds very interesting and very promising. The other thing I would say is that we are in a very fortunate position with this business park and the fact that, yes, it is fairly empty at the moment, or it's more empty than it's been in the last 10 years, is creating a lot of opportunities. I know me and the city manager were talking about it today. If you look at the call centers and some other things that we've lost in the last few years, the opportunity to put much more higher paying jobs into those same buildings has never been, we haven't had a greater opportunity than we're having right now. It's kind of like when people asked us, what do we think about Aerojet shutting down? Well, they went from 30,000 employees and they were down to 1,200. And imagine what would happen if we could fill up those buildings again and use them for other things like battery manufacturing or other things like that. The opportunity in our city to use what's already been built comparatively to other cities that just have raw land that hope to build something someday is just phenomenal for us as a city. So a lot to learn, and it was a busy few weeks, but that's all I got.
Thank you, Councilmember Terry. My report, so with Councilmember Gatewood, I attended the IT committee meetings at NLC. First off, I'd like to give recognition to staff, the amount of detail that they took to make such a beautiful and successful event. As I have done many events, and I know the amount of effort it takes to pull this one off, where we had mayors and council members and representatives from all over the country, and it went off without a hitch. So I'd really thank you, Micah, and thank you, staff, for the wonderful event. So I attended the IT committee meeting, and we toured Cal OES along with other council members from other cities, and they were really impressed about what we have here in our backyard, and they wanted to see if they had something similar in their state. And they, California is obviously leading in terms of IT and cybersecurity. I attended the STA event along with City Manager, Councilmember Gatewood, for the recognition of Councilmember Budge, and I must tell you, it was very impressive. Not just did she have to sit on a white leather chair, it was practically like a throne, and it was a throne. And
I was gonna say, do we have photos somewhere? Oh, so you can share that one. Okay.
And it was, they threw rose petals at her, and they gave her an award. So I think it was.
Were you like
I was
Eddie
very
Murphy in
impressed.
Coming to America?
Yeah. And then they did this dance and they all came out and
Really?
Yeah.
I want to see the photos.
So yeah, all in all, it was a good event, and that is a brief report. I'll pass it on to the city manager.
Well, thank you, Vice Mayor Pulapati. And I will say I only felt a little uncomfortable throwing things at Councilmember Budge, even though there were rose petals. But that was quite a celebration and an honor for Councilmember Budge, and we did have a good time. That was a big, large event for their 10-year Telangana Association, and so I think honoring not only Councilmember Budge, but the city's commitment to these different
And we need to
organizations.
point that out, that it was really their celebration for an anniversary of having become a state. People ask us, you know, what does it take to start a city? But they carved a state out of an entire country. And Siri, you all deserve such an incredible amount of credit for having done that. It's really remarkable.
Yeah, so the Lifetime Achievement Award for Councilmember Budge on Sunday was quite the accomplishment with the thrones and the flower petals and the very heavy flower garland that made it very difficult for Councilmember Budge to stand up. But
It was the Festival of Flowers. There was actually a flowers on a plate. So it looked like a crown, but it was actually flowers. I mean, gold-plated flowers.
So quite the event, and so really excited about that. That was it's up in the council. You can see it up in the council offices up there. The other, really want to kind of really thank the council for the comments around the National League of Cities event that was here last week. I think really want to, I am not successful in naming all of the staff and the team members that were a part of that event, but really that was a collaborative, all hands on deck hosting of the National League of Cities last week with the mayors and council members from across the country that were visiting Rancho Cordova. And I think there are a couple of things. One is being able to talk about the programs, and we had many presentations at the different committee meetings from different staff about what we're doing in different places, and really generated a lot of good conversations and questions from the different folks from around the country, but also listening to what they're doing in their cities and trying to find opportunities. And really, that's part of the value of the, kind of the participation in the National League of Cities, is really being on the forefront of these conversations about what is happening and where we can take advantage of what's happening at the different national scale level type of programs or events that we can benefit from. So really, whether it was the logistics planning, whether it was hosting a dinner on Wednesday night, whether it was program presentations, we had kind of folks all over town, and really do appreciate the city staff team that really made that happen, and really want to appreciate them for that. And so with that, we celebrate a great week last week of lots of different exciting events and things. So thank you.
Thank you. Now we move on to consent calendar. Consent calendar items consist of matters deemed routine and non-controversial by staff. Unless a member of the council wishes to pull an item for individual consideration, all items will be approved by one motion. Citizens wishing to address the council for any matter on the consent calendar agenda may do so at this time by completing and submitting a speaker card to the city clerk. Are there any items council wishes to pull from the consent calendar?
Do we have any public comment?
I'm going to ask that next.
There is no public comment for items on the consent calendar.
Move the calendar.
Are there any public comments?
There's no public comments.
Okay.
Second.
Was the motion by Terry? Thank you. Roll call. Councilmember Terry?
Aye.
Councilmember Budge?
Yes.
Councilmember Gatewood?
Yep.
Mayor Sander is absent. Vice Mayor Pulapati?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Okay. There are no items. The motion passes. We'll go to the consent. There are no items under the consent public hearing this evening. Okay. I'll ask the city clerk to announce the subject for the public hearing item.
It's a long one. An urgency ordinance of the City Council of the City of Rancho Cordova extending a temporary moratorium for 1 year on the establishment, expansion, or modification of uses in the villages of Zinfandel Special Planning Area, designated therein as M1 Light Industrial and MP Office Industrial Park zones, except for those uses allowed by ordinance number 13-2023, including indoor, auto storage, and office uses and accessory uses permitted by ordinance number 13-2023.
I'll ask Darcy for the staff report.
Good evening, Vice Mayor, members of the council. Darcy Glart with the Planning Department. This evening before you is the extension of the urgency ordinance to, or 1 meeting ago, so 2 weeks ago, we brought forward the actual report for you. We reported out what our tasks have been over the last year or so. So this is just the final process where we're asking you to extend this ordinance for a period of a year. So staff has a ordinance in front of you, and that's our recommendation. I can answer any questions you may have.
Go ahead.
Why can't we just make it permanent? Why do we keep doing temporary?
So the ordinance itself is because we're reviewing all of the changes that we need to make to finalize through the zoning code as well as the SPA document. So that's what this effort is for, is to finalize any additional changes we may need.
But we can't just make this item permanent? Why?
The statutes limits it to 2 years, and the, the intention is to really do a relook after the DA expired and after there were limitations on the uses for that period of time, at what additional uses might be allowed, at what additional uses might be prohibited. It was really to take a comprehensive look at these non-residential areas.
I mean,
And the state law does, the short answer is the state law makes moratoria like this subject to this maximum 2-year extension and the process, the steps that we've extended it by.
but if we know we want these and whatever the final thing is gonna be, like, we could add things or make changes later, but we can't just say this is permanent until we change our mind?
No.
You can adopt a replacement zoning code, but you can't just adopt a permanent moratoria on uses in an area. You wouldn't do it by this process. It's, the urgency moratoria like this are subject to a 2-year limit total.
And there has to be environmental review and all those things that go with changing zoning.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Any other comments, council members? I'll open it for public hearing. Or I'll ask city clerk to open for public hearing.
And we do have public comment. So Greg Meilenberg, you'll be first. Following Greg will be Sarah Malone, James Garcia, and Valerie Knipschild.
Greg Meilenberg, resident of Rancho Cordova, Stone Creek. I'd like to just say I would like the moratorium to continue. That's my speech.
Like your short speech.
Sarah Malone.
Sarah agrees.
She hasn't said anything.
Good evening, Vice Mayor, City Council members, and city staff. I'm here in support of extending the moratorium, and I'd like to also thank all of you for the work that you're doing to protect our neighborhood. Thank you.
Next speaker, James Garcia.
Great. James Garcia, resident Stone Creek. I also want to echo what fellow residents have been saying. Also like to thank Donald Terry for his comment of why can't we just make this permanent? So would really love to have that go into effect. So if you as council members can direct staff to make it permanent by doing a zoning code, and since it is a elimination versus an extension, we should be CEQA exempt, since a lot of our projects are CEQA exempt, since it is eliminating uses, not adding uses. So again, would love to have this extended on a more permanent basis. So if you can direct council that way, or staff that way, that'd be great. Thank you.
But James, he just told us we couldn't do that.
No,
I don't know. Wait. I just want you to hear that. I asked that question.
Right.
We were told no.
Yes.
So don't ask for it.
No. He stated, though, that you can do it by a zoning code change. So you can direct staff.
Which would need a whole new EIR. I don't want to get back into this. I'm just saying, listen to the answer sometimes before you ask for something again.
I did. We didn't say that it would require a whole new EIR, not from him. So, yes.
Next speaker is Valerie Knipschild.
Good evening, council persons. I'm Valerie Knipschild from Stone Creek. I'm also in favor of extending the moratorium for another year for the special planning area of the villages of Zinfandel. And I want to thank all of you for taking into consideration the residents of Stone Creek's health and welfare. Thank you.
That concludes the speaker cards for those that I have received for this item. However, we also received a few comments via email Those comments have been distributed to the city council. They have been placed on the city's website, and they have been printed and placed in a binder in the back of the council chambers. The individuals that submitted public comment via email include Dawn Davison, Sarah Malone, Valerie Knipschild, Dilip Naik, and Eric Weiniger.
Thank you, and I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion.
Move the item.
Roll call. Councilmember Terry.
Aye.
Councilmember Gatewood.
Aye.
Councilmember Budge.
Yes.
Mayor Sander is absent. Vice Mayor Pulapati.
Yes.
Next.
I'll ask the city clerk to announce the subject for the regular calendar item.
The item passed 4-0.
Thank you. The regular calendar item 12.1 is a resolution approving fiscal year 2024 through 25 community grants, legacy fund, and programs and initiatives to be funded from the Measure H Community Enhancement and Investment Fund.
I'd like to request Kim and Randy K. Stevens for the staff report.
And Lindsay.
And Lindsay, you're welcome too.
Good evening, Vice Mayor and members of the council and staff. I'm Randy K. Stevens, your analyst for the Community Enhancement Investment Fund. Joining me tonight at the staff table is Lindsay Samples. And we are here to bring to you tonight the resolution and matrix for your consideration, along with the staff presentation on progress since the last time we met at council. Just to recap, we last met on May 28th, and the council reviewed over 110 applications and provided its funding recommendations to staff so that we could produce the sample Measure H resolution, which is in your packet this evening. Directions to staff that evening included referring certain applicants to the microgrant program, and you also suggested that staff review or suggest applications return to council under different funding discussions. You also provided direction to staff to engage with Folsom Cordova Unified School District on matters related to field use, fee rates, and operations. A recap of our current Community Enhancement Investment Fund grant amounts for the upcoming fiscal year. In total, the community grant allocation would be just over $3.4 million. That includes the previously approved multi-year agreements and roughly $2.2 million in new agreements to be funded. In the pie chart, you can see that we have our percentages related to the different categories. Arts, culture, history, entertainment, and sports is currently funded roughly 42% of that full allocation. Education at just about 36%, and the other category at 22%. This is the overview of what the proposed Measure H program would fund. At the top, you'll see the community grant line item at $3.4 million and legacy projects at about $2.4, and then the other additional projects that we've previously shared with you as well. I'll continue on unless there are questions. Thank you. And at this time, I'll provide a brief update on that staff update for facilities and field rates matter, and then I'll invite our city manager to share additional updates. Folsom Cordova Unified School District applied directly for three particular grants. One is for the athletic support related to Mills and Mitchell Middle Schools, as well as Kinney High School. They also applied for STEM field trip funding, and there was also a third application related to a cultural appreciation concert. As part of the recommendations or the feedback we received from council guiding staff's work in preparing the matrix, we have labeled each of those three applications as Category 3. To get into the nuance of developing the contracts for Measure H, there are three levels of categories of preparing contracts. And Category 1 are for the applications that are fairly ready to go. Minor work is needed to modify budgets depending on the allocation that was given to a particular group. Category 2 requires a little bit more staff work or maybe even legal work involved. Category 3 is reserved for those projects that require the most complex kind of attention by a number of stakeholders to produce a particular contract. We've listed Category 3 for all of the FCOSD applications because this will allow other Measure H grant contracts to move forward while we continue the work that needs to be done to have the negotiations related to the facilities and field rates matter and Mike will be sharing a little bit more about that.
Sure. Well, thank you, Randy Kay. And just by way of kind of updating the council directed staff to kind of have conversations with the Folsom Cordova Unified School District and RCAA about different opportunities. And I think on a broader sense, also utilizing this process to kind of work through a potential way that how we handle partnership conversations with SUSD and the different community partners. And so what we kind of will talk about right now might be a good way to look at how we might handle future conversations, whether it's performing arts or any other kind of partnership type opportunities, and assigning the right people to have the conversations. And so I think with that, I will give a little bit of an update of we did have multiple meetings with Folsom Cordova Unified and RCAA and Cordova Community Council that included a variety of people. And I think just as of note, it included also the current superintendent, but also the future superintendent as well in these conversations. So from a holistic moving these conversations forward, I think was showing the importance and the value of having these conversations. And so through those conversations, we had initial discussions around a memorandum of understanding that we will be completing, that the actually RCAA or the Cordova Community Council will be completing with the Folsom Cordova Unified School District, with getting different access and opportunities for the different fields on their facilities. And so what I really want to highlight is actually the next slide, which is really just showing kind of some of the goals and the outcomes and the progress of what is in the MOU and what we've already agreed to with some of the different kind of outcomes and goals that we're going for. And I think highlighted in red is the actual important ones that I think for our purposes, what we wanted to make sure there was alignment between FCUSD and RCA and the city on these different topics. And so the first one is basically making accessible the district facilities to Rancho Cordova member youth organizations. Really, that's the goal, is to provide as much access as we can to our community groups. The other is the district is responsible for maintenance and capital investment facilities at a base level in quality, and so making sure we have a commitment that they're moving forward and maintaining their facilities at a base level. Additional investment and enhancements can be a partnership between the school district and the city or RCA or other different opportunities. And so these really we looked at as the goals of the effort. And so from the previous side, the goal here is to assign a task force, and I think we have Stacy Delaney, Jason Harper, and Peter Maroon, who are kind of part of that group who's moving this conversation forward. Next slide, please. Is really the next stakeholder meeting is June 24th, but ultimately what we're looking forward is the board taking this forward on August 1st and moving this conversation forward. And like I said, the goal of this process maybe is a good outline for how we handle other kind of partnership conversations and assigning the right people and the right opportunities to take these conversations forward. And really looking forward to kind of that next step. And I think what also is being highlighted is these are put in a category 3, which basically moves kind of the conversation from a political environment to just making sure from a technical environment for me and for the team that this MOU is completed before we approve any of these contracts. And so that's what we're looking forward to. And I think maybe Randy Kay can round out with the recommendation and go from there.
This is my last slide for the evening. We are asking the council to review and adopt the fiscal year 2024-25 resolution in your council packet, which also includes the Exhibit A. It's the matrix of applications that have been allocated funding based on current discussions from the council. And also, I just want to share that staff is looking to come back to the city council to have some discussions with you around eligibility, criteria, funding categories, funding levels, grant cycle timing, and a lot of other areas that we'd like to kind of get some more direction from council on.
Thank you. Shall we go to public comment?
Yes. We have a few speaker cards. The first one is Will Logo. Following Will will be Nadia. Following Nadia will be Stallion King and Jacob Lloyd. You'll have up to 3 minutes.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Michael Runner, City Council members. I believe that this is the right especially Mayor Sanders not here. I believe we have the right mayor, the right city council member, the right team here for our youth in our community. I'm gonna read off some names real quick. Marcus Mays, Jay Jonas, Mir, Bubba Miller, Kevin Haley. This Saturday, Elijah Wallace. These are names of kids who've got killed. Elijah Wallace this Saturday was killed. Your running back for your high school, Cordova High School, was killed. Just came from Cordova 707. Our boys are in mourning over that Cordova. We need more. We need more at White Rock. We need more. We need more. To not get the recommendation from our own staff for something that's going to be free for this youth, it's a shame. It's a shame. We're failing our kids. We're failing our youth. We don't, look, there's a war going on other places in the world. It's a war going on right here in our city, and we're losing. I didn't come seeking any funding. I didn't. I was referred here by pals. They told me to come knock on some doors at City Hall. Come seek funding. I said, cool, all right, let's see what happens. All I'm asking is for our youth to have free character building, development, free rec sports. And the time where they need it the most right now. There's kids out here dying. Your kids. Your running back just got killed on Saturday. Our kids just got shot at yesterday. They got shot at yesterday. Your head coach, JB Dolliver, almost got killed last night. Your kids almost got killed last night. I'm holding a park jam, summer jam. I plan to have it in July at White Rock Park. That's my target. I'm gonna do it with or without any funding from the city. Last year I was funded by community members. The community, they funded my program. If we gotta do it that way, we gotta do it that way. But we are gonna bring change to this city with or without our own tax dollars. Thank you. And we don't need people coming from outside our city to try to take our money from our kids.
Next speaker is Nadia.
Sorry, I need a moment. Vice Mayor, City Council, and City staff. My name is Nadia Niazi, and I'm the founder and executive director of FITRA. I'm here this afternoon reaching out to urge you to revisit FITRA's proposal for community enhancement funding, as we were also denied this recommendation. At FITRA, we are committed to empowering the most vulnerable youth, those gentlemen just talked about, in our community through workforce development. Our focus is on young adult, age 16 to 25, particularly those aging out of the foster system. The statistics are alarming. 40% of youth who age out of the foster care system experience homelessness within 18 months due to lack of financial support and necessary job skills. FITRA addresses this critical issue by providing these young adults with the skills and opportunity they need to thrive. Our innovative approach combines a social enterprise, a book reselling business, with intensive mentoring and real-world job experience right here in a warehouse in Rancho Cordova. This unique model not only teaches them soft skills, but also instills a sense of responsibility and self-efficacy. Our participants work approximately 20 hours a week managing various aspects of business, including shifts, book processing, shipping, the warehouse, management, and customer service. This approach has proven successful. Since last June, we have served 60 youth in our program. Out of these, 31 were residents of Rancho Cordova, 28 from Sacramento, 1 from Folsom. Our impact is clear. 4 of our participants have secured jobs in our own organization. 8 have found employment elsewhere. 10 have earned their high school diplomas, and the remainder are actively enrolled in college or still in high school. We are proud that SMUD has recognized our efforts by inviting us to their workforce development summits 2 consecutive years. At these summits, a common theme among CEOs from various industries have been a critical shortage of applicants with soft skills. Our program addresses this gap by equipping young people with skills they need to succeed in the workforce. We believe in the power of numbers and measurable outcomes, and we track the productivity of our participants by monitoring the hours they spend engaged in work or education, even after they leave our program for up to 2 years with a case manager dedicated to our youth. Our model not only prepares them for the job market, but also transforms them into contributing members of our community with a promising future. Given our proven track record and the critical need for our services, we are respectfully requesting that you reconsider FITRA's proposal for community enhancement funding.
Please wrap up your
support
comments.
will enable us to continue making a significant impact in the lives of vulnerable youth in Sacramento County. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Stallion King. Stallion, do you want the handheld mic?
Yes, please. That'd be great. Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Stephanie, can you turn on?
Hello, hello. Okay.
There's a clock right there. You need that.
I will keep an eye on that. Good evening, City Council members. I go by the name Stallion King, and from the bottom of my heart, I'm here to ask you to reconsider funding for the FITRA program in Rancho Cordova. This organization has changed me into the person I wanted to be, and I believe it can do the same for others. When I first joined FITRA, I was only interested in the paycheck that it could provide. While at FITRA, I was also taking college courses. I was struggling and felt like dropping out. You see, with my learning disabilities, it made everything harder, which triggered a lot of self-doubt and low self-esteem, which I've been dealing with pretty much since high school. With many people oblivious to where I mentally was, my confidence remained extremely low. I want people to know FITRA created a life for me that I couldn't even imagine. After 2 years, I feel like a different person. FITRA allowed me to live out my dream of helping others by investing in me and sponsoring me to become an AmeriCorps member, which gives me the chance to be a youth mentor and trainer. I now have a responsibility of opening and closing FITRA's warehouse facility, attend events, and campaign for FITRA, advocacy, basically advocating for the program that transformed my life. Thanks to FITRA, I know exactly what I want to do in my life. I'm working towards my associate's degree in English with the goal of becoming a writer. I feel confident that when I leave FITRA, I will be able to secure a job. The support and guidance I've received has given me practical skills and a sense of purpose and self-worth. FITRA's impact extends far beyond my experience. This program has the potential to change the lives of many more youth in Rancho Cordova, offering them the same opportunities opportunities for growth and success. By continuing to fund FITRA, you are investing in the future of our community's youth. Please consider the significant difference FITRA has made in my life and the lives of others when when making your decision. I apologize. Your support is crucial in ensuring that this life-changing program can continue to operate and provide valuable services to those who need it the most. Thank you for your consideration and your time.
The next speaker is Jacob Lloyd.
Thank you for having me, City Council members. My name is Jacob Lloyd. And I'm a 17-year-old student here at Folsom Cordova School District, and I am a youth participant in the FITCHA program, and I am a resident of Rancho Cordova now. For the past year leading through the entirety of 2023, I was homeless with my family, bouncing from place to place, trying to withstand everything that we were going through. And as we moved into a new apartment in Rancho Cordova, the only place that we could find somewhere to partially call home, we were struggling with money, and we're having a lot of issues in our family at the moment. And I decided to take a step up because I was having issues with schooling and such, and I wanted to learn how to become more of an adult, as I'm going to become one soon enough. Through my school district's homeless assistance, I was referred to FITRA and was emailing Amreen Kaval, and she helped me by allowing me to spend my first day at FITRA, learning what it's about, being able to see how everything works. And at first, I was only going to be there for the money. I didn't want to do too much more. I just wanted to help my family out, do whatever I can as a student, as someone who is looked down upon, as I'm not a full adult like everyone else here. Over time, I've grown closer with the people I work around, and I feel a lot happier, and I feel like FITRA is a very safe place to be around. And not only do they feel safe, they're teaching me skills that I really do feel like will help in the long run. I could go into the business department of things. I'm getting support talking about wanting to go into computer engineering, computer science, everything that I've wanted to do since I was about 13. And recently, Amreen had set up a campaign and saved up money to get me a bicycle and a helmet to get me to work a lot easier and help out even more. I faced many difficulties and barriers in my life, and FITRA has been changing a lot for me, and I'm very happy with this, and I'm hoping you guys can consider reopening the case for the grant. Thank you for your consideration.
Those are the speakers that I have for item number 12.1. One additional public comment came in via email from Angela Grebin that has been distributed to the city council. It's been placed on the city's website, and it has been printed in the council chambers, in the back of the council chambers in the binder. Thank you.
I'd like to open it up to council members for comments.
So, thank you for the negotiations jobs you're doing with Folsom Cordova Partnership. I think, our Folsom Cordova School District. I think it's coming a long way, and I appreciate everything we're doing, and I fully support moving forward with this as long as they are becoming the better partner that they know they can be. Thank you. I'd like to move.
I'd like to make a comment. I'd like to thank the commenters for their public comments today. The city of Rancho Cordova is absolutely invested in the youth and giving back to a community. My understanding is a lot of projects that were not approved on the CEIF funds as it stands, there have been other funding opportunities, and I'd really recommend that you pursue those opportunities. Thank you.
I'd like to motion that we move with resolution. You're looking for a motion, right?
Yes.
Resolution approving the fiscal year 2025 Community Grants Legacy Fund and programs initiatives to be funded by Measure H Community Enhancement Investment Fund.
Second.
Councilmember Gatewood?
Aye.
Councilmember Terry?
Aye.
Councilmember Budge?
Yes.
Mayor Sander is absent. Vice Mayor Pulapati?
Yes.
The motion passes.
I'll ask the clerk to announce the subject for the next item.
Item 12.2, appointment of real property negotiators, City Manager Micah Runner and City Attorney Adam U. Lindgren for the following property and assessors parcel numbers. APN 10801 North Mather Boulevard, Rancho Cordova, California. The APN numbers are 072-2360-028-0000, Next APN is 072-2360-029-0000. And the last APN 072-2360-030-0000. And we do have a public comment for this item from James Garcia.
Hello, James Garcia, resident Stone Creek. I just had a couple questions on this. Since these parcels were initially put up, they were sold to the city by Elliott, and then there was a project for, that was gonna be for the Department of Water Resources that we were setting that property aside for. So I don't know, is this now, we're finally gonna go forward with that project? Or is another buyer coming in to try to get that land? So just curious on that, if it's the same project or a new project. So that's all I really would like to know. Thank you.
Sadly, that's why we go into closed session, is because we can't talk about it.
Council members, any comments?
No, but I will move approval of the appointment of our real property and negotiators.
Second, sorry.
Councilmember Budge?
Yes.
Councilmember Terry?
Aye.
Councilmember Gatewood is absent. Mayor Sander is absent. Vice Mayor Pulapati.
Yes.
Thanks for remembering.
Motion passes.
I forgot that.
Okay, I'll ask a request for any future agenda items.
No, I've just, well, we're not adjourning yet, but just remembered to adjourn in memory of Maria Ramirez.
With that, we'll adjourn to closed session.